For me, this is a very underrated portrait pencil, and I don't see many portrait artists use this pencil. Here in the Philippines, almost no one know about or use this particular portrait pencil, but look how fine and how beautiful the portrait that it can create. Although this is unfinished actually, but as you can see here, it produces very fine realistic portraits. So if you want to know about this particular underrated pencil and how I did this particular drawing using these pencils, and why I think you should consider trying this particular pencils that for me is very underrated compared to graphite or the regular charcoal. Not so many artists use these pencils. I may be wrong, but from what I can see, compared to the usage of charcoal or graphite, this pencil is in between the graphite and charcoal, and not so many artists use this pencil for realistic portrait. And today I'm going to show you how these pencils can create really nice realistic portraits. So watch this video. Actually, I was able to feature this portrait pencil here on my channel a couple of times, and I'm so in love with this portrait pencil because it's like a breed between graphite and charcoal. And this pencil that I'm talking about is called the Cretacolor Nero oil-based charcoal pencil. So oil-based, meaning the binder that they use to the charcoal, this is essentially charcoal, but the binder that they use for this pencil is oil. So it's not going to be as powdery and as messy as the regular charcoal pencil, but it has the ability to make your portrait or the values dark, just like charcoal. And compared to graphite, it behaves like graphite also because it's very compact. I think it can easily be sharpened by any sharpener, handheld or mechanical sharpeners. And unlike charcoal, you cannot just sharpen charcoal using any sharpener. This one, because this is oil based, I feel like it's a bit harder. It's as hard as graphite, I think. I can compare it to like the 5B or up to that 10B of the graphite because it has several grades also like graphite. The one that I'm using here for my base tone, actually this is the first stage of this drawing where I'm adding my base tone. This is a detailed base tone using the hardest and the lightest grade of this Cretacolor Nero oil-based charcoal pencil. This is the extra hard grade that I use on this particular stage. This is like adding the base tone stage, but I'm also making sure that I add the details and the texture of the skin tone using this lightest grade of the Cretacolor. And this is the first stage, as you can see here. Even though this is the lightest grade, you can see that compared to graphite, this is really nice and dark. Can you see it? Because if you use the H grade or the hard pencil grade of the graphite, it's not going to be as dark as this one. So if you are a graphite user and if you feel like you cannot create the dark value that you wanted with the graphite, even if you use like the 10B of the graphite, you can't seem to achieve the darkness that you want compared to charcoal. And if you are a charcoal user, you cannot seem to use directly the charcoal pencil to create detailed skin tone because the charcoal naturally is very powdery, very messy to use. So this is like, if I can just put it like this, if charcoal and graphite had a baby, I think this is that pencil because it creates dark values just like the typical charcoal, but you can sharpen it to a very nice sharp point to create very nice detailed texture drawings that is more realistic, or if you want to achieve hyper realistic drawings that can seem to achieve by the charcoal. And the graphite, the graphic pencils are made for hyper realistic skin tone, but this one, because this is like a breed between the charcoal and the graphite, it has that ability to create texture and details. As you can see here, can you see how tiny details I can just put very easily using this. I'm just using on this stage just one pencil. This is the lightest grade, which is the extra hard, and I'm gonna be using it with layers. So I'm gonna be using 3 grades here. Actually, the Cretacolor I think has 4 different grades. The extra hard, which is the one that I use here. They have the hard, which is a bit darker here, although it's also as hard as this. And we have the medium hard, which is going to be the darkest pencil that I'm gonna use on this particular portrait. And they have the soft. Actually, they have soft and they have extra soft, but I'm not gonna use the soft and the extra soft. The darkest pencil that I'm gonna use here is the medium, and you will see how the medium can provide the dark shadow or the dark value that you want from a charcoal pencil. So I enjoy using this pencil because it seems to be very flexible. Because if you are a charcoal user, you understand, especially if you are a charcoal pencil user, you will understand that charcoal is not going to be as flexible as graphite in terms of details, in terms of adding details. But as you can see here, using just one pencil, I was able to create a very nice base. Actually, this is just the base because for portraits, if you are a portrait artist, it's important to use different grades of pencils, different darkness, different tones to create a more realistic, more three-dimensional drawing. So as you can see here, this is just one pencil. So you can see here that the portrait or the face is a little bit flat at this stage because this is just one pencil. We don't, later on we are going to add more values, more contrast to make it more realistic, to make it pop out of the paper. And but even at this stage, you can see how easy it is to create details right here. This is subtle details, but we are going to upgrade the tone right here using two more pencils. Apart from this is the lightest, but I'm gonna be using the hard and the medium hard on this particular drawing, and you will see using just 3 grades of pencils, you can see the contrast and the beauty and the realism that it can really create using this pencil. This is a very fine pencil. This is, I think, made from Austria, and you know, Austria, one of the most artsy countries in the world, and this is really fine. If you haven't tried this, and if you have been thinking twice, I think you should really give this pencil a try if you are a portrait artist and if you do commissions. Here in the Philippines, I don't know many people use this pencil for their commission portraits. They usually use charcoal, and then they usually use powdered charcoal for their dark values using the dry brush or using the brush technique. Here, I'm not going to use a charcoal powder, and let me show you why that is not necessary for this particular drawing, because it can create really nice dark tones. And this is, you can just, you know, draw, you can just layer it directly on the paper. You don't need any powder to make darker shadows. And here, as you can see, this is the lightest pencil, the extra hard, but I was able to get the shape, the basic shape of the portrait. And the only thing lacking here is the contrast. And here I'm gonna blend it, the base tone that we did, and we were able to create some subtle highlights right here and shadows, and some subtle textures and details for the skin tone. And yeah, here I'm blending it, and you can see how it is really nice and easy to blend using just the blending stump and just nice soft brush. You can just brush it. This is just the initial blending that I use because I'm gonna be adding more layers, more shadows, more contrast on this particular drawing. You can see here, this is the soft makeup brush right here. And somebody asked me if it feels like colored pencils. More, yeah, it feels a bit like colored pencil, but the main difference is that this pencil can be blended by brush. Unlike colored pencils, you cannot blend colored pencils with just soft brush. Here, it's really blendable. Like graphite and charcoal, the regular graphite and charcoal, you can just blend it using soft brush. And I'm excited to add darker values here because I know that it's going to be more realistic. It pops out of the paper like this one. On part 2, you will see how I achieve this kind of value, especially on the eyes, very dark. So see that on the part 2 of this video.